Hello. Can you guys hear and see me? Give me a quick hello if you can hear me and see me. Hi. All right, cool. This is the first time I actually scheduled my live, so it was a little bit confusing as to when I pressed the button, if I was actually live or if it was actually waiting for it to hit 9:30 or whatnot. So I hope you got all of that. I hope I wasn't talking to no one there for a couple of minutes, but how's everyone doing? Welcome to the second Ask Rachel Live. I hope you guys are doing well and, coping with all the craziness out there. How is everybody? Hello, Louise. Hello, Hungry Banana. Sharif, Helen, Buddy, Marilyn, Diane, Paul. Couple of names, I'm sorry. I'm just so bad at pronouncing some of them. I do my best. Hello, Jen. Thanks so much for joining me today, you guys. We've got quite a number of questions, so I'm going to just dive right into them so that I can make sure I've got some time at the end to talk to you guys in the chat, because I know you're already throwing some questions into the chat there, so I want to make sure I can get to as many as I can. So I'm going to jump right in here and just organize my windows. Okay, so the first question is from Nasser. And Nasser's got a few questions here. So firstly, I would like to know how the Amazon algorithm works for ranking, because I see most people don't get a sale at all or low sales in the first and second month. Then after a while, sales start to come in. If you could advise how to rank higher and faster by optimizing titles, subtitles, description, keywords, etc. Also, I see a lot of people use few keywords on subtitles. How many relevant keywords should we use on the subtitle that makes sense? Does it help to rank? And also, what should we keep in mind for those keywords? So there's quite a few questions there, so I'll try and answer each one individually here. So first, rank is tied directly to sales. So the only thing that's really going to move your rank up or down is sales or lack of sales. Now, having said that, when your book is first published, you are going to be given some discoverability right off the bat. That's not tied to your rank, but you might show up on the first page for a couple of days just to give your book a chance to compete with some of the more established books. But obviously, it does have to generate some sales to maintain that discoverability. Now, regarding the comment about most people not getting sales until the first or second month, I usually see the opposite happening. So usually if a book is going to sell, it's usually going to sell within those first couple of weeks, maybe even a month. And in my experience, if it hasn't sold anything within those first couple of weeks or a month, it's probably not going to sell at all. So that's what I've personally seen for my own books. And then, obviously, if it doesn't make any sales in those first couple of weeks or month, it just continues to lose discoverability, making it more and more difficult to find and obviously less likely to generate any sales. Now, regarding optimizing, titles and subtitles and all that stuff that you asked about, I did produce a video on this a few weeks ago, so I'm going to link to that. I think I already have linked to it actually in the description below. It's all about how to optimize your low content books. So you can check that video out because it'll have a lot more information there than I can just quickly whip through here. And then, how many relevant keywords for title information? As many as that you can use that still sounds natural and not keyword stuff. So usually for me, I tend to put in about 2, usually in my subtitle. And then I always use a series title because that's a great place to stick a few more keywords. So I usually have at least 2 or 3 in my series title as well. But again, it's got to sound natural. The best way to know is to just say it out loud. If it sounds like a real book subtitle, then you're good. And it is possible to fit in 2 or 3 and have it still sound natural, but you got to pay, you've got to pay some special attention on how it actually sounds when you say it out loud. Does it actually sound like a real book title, or does it just look keyword stuffed? Because it looks a lot more legitimate if it sounds like a real subtitle. Now, in terms of the keywords, I like to use a mix of low, medium, and high competition keywords. And then the search volume question you asked about, that's just one part of it. I also look at, the quality of my competition, the reviews that they've got and stuff like that. But going back to search volume for a sec, I usually like a search volume of at least 1,000 searches per month. I think I've probably gone as low as maybe like 700 or 800, but if it's much lower than that, then that just doesn't feel worth it to me because it's probably there's just not enough people looking for it every month. So 1,000, around 1,000, that's kind of my threshold for search volume. All right, next question is from Mohammed. And Mohammed says, I put all the necessary keywords for a sub-niche, but my book doesn't show up on first or second page, always page number 8 or more. Any advice? And then he also notes that the niche only has 300 competitors in it. So it's a little bit hard for me to give you solid advice here without seeing what your actual keywords are, and then also looking at the quality of the competition. But, generally this just means that other books, they're probably more established and they're just outselling yours. These other books, they might also be ranking for other keywords. So that, they're selling more, they have a higher bestsellers rank. Now, you don't say that if your book shows up on the 8th page for every single one of the keywords that you've chosen, or if it's just a couple of them. But either way, I think check out each one of your keywords by just typing them into the search bar and seeing where your book shows up, and just swapping out any of the keywords that aren't working for you. So if that's just a couple of keywords where you're showing up on the 8th page, swap those out. If you're not getting any traction with however many you're using, so you've got your 7 slots, and then you might have a few in your title and information and whatnot. If none of them are working, then I would just say give it a complete overhaul and just swap out all of your keywords and try again. Okay, so next question is from Saraswati. And okay, the question is, how do you motivate yourself during the pandemic when everything is so uncertain? So this is a really good question. Firstly, I just basically use the same motivation tactics that I use at any time of the year, uncertain times or not. And firstly, I just think about what it is that I want. So I've got my goal. I think about why I want it. So what's the reason behind wanting that goal? The why that I've talked about before. And then I think about what are the required actions that I'm going to need to take to get there. So on a daily basis, what actions can I take that brings me closer to my goal? So you can also think about this, I guess, from more of a philosophical or values-based point of view. So what can I do today that's going to be in line with my values? So does sitting around doing nothing and not making progress, does that align with my values? Or does taking some sort of action, regardless of things being uncertain, does that align a little bit more with my values? What's going to benefit my well-being most? Is that going to be sitting around, or is it going to be feeling like I'm doing something despite maybe not knowing what that outcome might be? So for me, I'd always rather be doing something and taking action, even though the results are uncertain. I'd still rather be doing that than doing nothing. So that's my value system. That aligns with my personal values. I think especially in these times, we have to really focus on progress, not perfection. And, we have to recognize that even though we don't have control over the outside circumstances, there are some things that we do have control over. And if we take appropriate action toward those things, then that just helps us feel a little bit more empowered rather than helpless. So I think that's really important for uncertain times like this. Now, for me, how this is playing out, I'm sure some of you can relate. You might have children at home right now. That's making it very difficult to get any work done. I've got about 2 to 3 hours a day, if I'm lucky now, to run this business. So that's really challenging, but I'm really just trying to focus on what I can do rather than what I can't, because there's a whole lot of stuff not getting done. And it can be really easy to just slip into frustration mode there. So if I just focus on what I can do rather than what I can't, then I can still feel like I'm making incremental progress every day. Then I can still feel good about the day. Even if it's just a small slice of what I would normally get done, as long as it's some progress toward what I'm ultimately working toward, then I can feel good about that. So that is how I try and stay motivated. And it's basically the same way I stay motivated, regardless of what's going on in the world. So I would just, try and hold on to those things as much as you can, and just try and keep things as normal as you can, despite everything that's going on around you. Okay, next question is from Nina. So Nina says, "Hi, Rachel. I have a question regarding the volume under one pen name. How many books do you think is optimal, and when does it become too much? Thank you." So rather than worrying about the number of books under one pen name, I just focus on the quality of the books under one pen name. So if I can go to my author page and feel confident that every book I've got under there is a quality book, then I can feel good about that. Now, having said that, if you've got hundreds of books under one pen name, that just becomes difficult for the customer to kind of sift through, and it becomes, maybe not the best customer experience. So if you've got hundreds and hundreds of books, it's probably better to spread them out if you can under multiple pen names, either by theme or by type of book. You might have planners under one, journals under another, or maybe you've got branded themes, like maybe you've got like a dog lovers pen name. So you've got all your dog lovers planners and notebooks and anything dog themed under that name. So however you want to split it up, it's better to keep those, that'll make things a little bit more manageable and just provide a little bit better of a customer experience. But I don't know if there's sort of like a hard cutoff of how many books. It's just, you will get to a certain point where it just becomes a little bit too much. And I think you can use your intuition on that one. And yeah, if you start to have too many building up under one pen name, then just introduce a new pen name. But again, that's, if you're getting to like hundreds, and dozens is fine, but hundreds, I think that's getting to be a bit too much. All right, so next question, Kadri, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. What tools and software can we use for each stage, starting niche, choice, to finishing book uploading? So I did a video on this a while back, so I'm just going to link to that video in the description below. Rather than go through all the different options here, you can check out that video, and I think that will answer your question for you. All right, moving on to Denora. What is the benefit of having a pen name? So to me, the benefit is it sounds a little bit more legit, like a real business. It sounds like a real brand. So I think that just legitimizes you a little bit more. And then the other benefit is that you can have different pen names for different niches. So, the example I always give is, let's say you're doing adult swear word coloring books. You're not going to want to put that under the same pen name as, like a Christian diary or, children's activity books or something like that. So it just helps you to create more distinct brands. You can have similar books under one brand and then another group of similar books under another pen name. So those are kind of the two main benefits that I think exist for having a pen name. Also, like what we were just talking about, if you've got hundreds of books, it's better to spread those out if you can and just group them together into groups that make sense, just so that if a customer goes to your author page, they're not having to sift through hundreds and hundreds of books on your author page. Yeah, so I think that's about it for the pen names. Okay, next question is from Carolyn. And Carolyn asks, are Amazon still okay with people publishing low content books? I thought I heard that Amazon was cracking down on it, and I've stopped doing them because I'm scared of getting my account shut down. So there haven't been any official announcements yet regarding low content books on Amazon. Now, the low content books are an absolutely massive moneymaker for Amazon, so I really can't see them pulling the plug altogether. But as we all know, there's a lot of abuse going on. There's a lot of spamming and just uploading, software to upload thousands of books at a time that are really poor quality. So I have to imagine that they are coming up with some new set of rules or regulations. What those might be are anybody's guess, but I can't imagine they're going to let this type of abuse go on for much longer. So I think we can expect some sort of rules coming into play. What they are going to be, like I said, it's anybody's guess. But I can't see them just pulling the plug on low content books, because the demand is growing all the time worldwide, and this is a massive, massive moneymaker. So I think rather than pulling the plug on low content books, it's just going to be a matter of how can they increase the quality of what they're offering. So there probably will be some rules around that soon, I would imagine. In the meantime, for us creating low content books, the best thing to do, as always, is to just make sure we're following the rules, not abusing the system, and focusing on well-researched quality books that real customers want. If we're producing a quality product that a real customer is looking for and then purchases, then that's a win for everybody. So there'd be no reason to worry about an account shutdown if you're providing a quality product that a customer is actually buying, because that's the backbone of the entire business, right? So I think just, worry about quality, good research, creating those books that real customers want, following the rules, and we'll all just be standing by waiting to hear any regulations that might be coming down the pipeline, which I think there probably will be. So I think we can expect that. But like I said, what those might be are anybody's guess. Okay, next question is from Jacopo. Okay, how do you conduct the research process to make useful and convincing interiors for low content books about topics you're not familiar with? The temptation is to check what the competition is doing, but it's hard as an outsider to build a better product if I'm not familiar with the metrics the potential customer might find helpful. So I think checking out the competition is your best bet. And I think reading the reviews, that's where you're going to find a gold mine of information. The reviews are going to tell you exactly what people liked or didn't like with the books that are currently out there. So they'll mention things that they think, I wish this book would have had this feature, or this was useless. So, just spend some time reading those, because that's where you're going to get most of that information from, is just reading those reviews. The other thing you can do is just visit any websites or forums or Facebook groups or anything like that where the people in that target audience are hanging out, and you can ask them directly. You can say, like, I'm thinking about creating this book. Here are some of the ideas I had. Do you think that there are any features that I've missed, or what would you like to see? So you can do that kind of research too, and that's kind of getting it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I think that's a good idea. So those would be the two things that I would do if I'm trying to create a book around a topic that I'm not super familiar with. Or obviously, if you have any friends or anyone that you know personally that might be into that interest, then you can ask them as well. Okay, so next question is from Joanne. Joanne says, I'm new and not at all techie. Is there a simple 1, 2, 3 step on where to put the pages created and how to put them into a book? I created 100 mandala coloring pages, 50 puzzle pages, which took me forever, and now I need to coordinate them into publishing. Too many videos, move too quickly, even with my grandson trying to help. Thank you. So this depends on the program that you're using to compile your pages. So, you can either use a program like Affinity Publisher, which is one of my favorites, or InDesign, which is what I use. Or a lot of people are using Keynote or PowerPoint or that sort of a thing. So whatever that program is, you're just going to create your document in the specified size. So if you want to make your coloring books 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11, then you'll create it at that size. You're just going to import each design onto a new page, export as a print-ready PDF, and that's it. Now, I've got a coloring book video, how to create a coloring book from scratch, and I've linked to that in the description below. Now, since you've already got those coloring book pages, you can just scrub till probably almost the end of that video, and I walk you through how to actually compile all of the pages together. I'm pretty sure I've done that in that video. So you can check that out, and hopefully that will help you. I think I might have done that in Affinity. But regardless of the software you're using, you can probably sort of extrapolate what to do in each one. So I hope that that helps. All right, next question. Sorry, I'm gonna murder this name, Jayla. I'm sorry, I totally mispronounced that. Okay, so you've recommended so many and now I'm so confused. So I think this person's talking about software. You said one for publishing, one for design, and one for graphics. I have no design experience other than Canva, which is best for a newbie. Right now I'm leaning towards Vecteezy, Creative Fabrica, Affinity, Gravit, and Tangent templates. Seems like a lot and some may duplicate. So for stock images, like you mentioned, Creative Fabrica, that is my favorite. These have the most high quality images that I've seen, and they've got the best license for low content publishing. So they've got a license that pretty much works specifically for low content publishing. And I just find that their graphics are really, really high quality. Now, if you want a free option, Vecteezy, like you also mentioned, that's one of them. Just make sure that you're reading the license well with Vecteezy. A lot of these free stock image sites, they do have restrictions on how many copies of a book you can sell if you're using them. So just make sure if you're using these free images that you are reading the license very thoroughly every time. And you're going to have to do things like keeping track of sales, attributing the artist and things like that. So just keep that in mind for any free options. Now, for the design portion of the process, like you said, Affinity Publisher is a great one. It's a very reasonable price, and it also does some basic vector editing, which is really, really handy. So that makes it great for both interiors and covers. If you want to do some more elaborate vector editing, which I think you could probably just get by with Affinity Publisher, to be honest, but if you really wanted to do some more elaborate vector editing or creation, then Affinity Designer is the vector editing program in that suite. And there's also free options. There's Inkscape, which I believe is only good for PCs. I know you can use it on a Mac, but there's kind of a weird plugin thing you got to get. And then there's Gravit, which has a free version and a paid version, so you could check those two out. And then regarding Tangent templates, that is for so everything I've just mentioned up until now, that's if you kind of want to create something from scratch. Tangent templates I haven't used, but I know there's a lot of people in the group that use it and love it. And that's really for if you want to create customizable templates. So it's a slightly different thing. If you're looking to make things from scratch, then everything I mentioned prior to Tangent templates would probably be more useful. But if you want to use templates, then Tangent templates would be good. I think someone might have to pipe in to the comment section here. I'm not sure if Tangent includes stock images. Again, pipe up if you've got any information about Tangent templates. I think you might still need to bring your stock images from somewhere like Creative Fabrica or Vecteezy. But if you had Tangent templates, then I don't think you'd need Affinity Publisher or Designer or anything like that. But again, if anyone has any other info, you can just pop it into the chat there. All right, there's a couple more here, and then I'll get to you guys in the chat. Okay, Kayla wants us to know, I uploaded a kid's book recently. I think it's a good one. Do you suggest making an ad for it due to the hard current period of COVID-19? So generally, I don't recommend ads until a book has already proven itself with some sales. But if you do, then I would just say to track it really closely to ensure that you're not spending more money than you're making. I think quite a lot of people make the mistake of they just throw an ad onto a book immediately to try and give it some discoverability, which it does, but when they sort of, and it might actually help produce some sales, but then when you take away what you're paying for the ad as compared to what you're left with royalty-wise, some people actually end up losing money, or they just kind of break even, so they're not really any better off. So I always suggest waiting to see if your book can sell a little bit first, because then the ads are going to amplify your sales rather than create them from nothing. But if you want to go for it, then just make sure you're tracking it very closely, every single day, and making sure that you are actually profiting from it and not just breaking even or even losing money. Okay, next question is from Monique. Monique says, hi, I'm new and still uncertain about copyright. I'm making my own planners, guest books, etc. Do I need to copyright these things? If I put a small intro into a daily journal, do I need to copyright that? Love these Q&A sessions. Thanks so much. You are so welcome, Monique. Okay, so no, once you've created something in a fixed medium, so that just means, if I come up with a poem and I write it down, or if I design a book and I've, created the file, that's a fixed medium. So once you have done that, your book is automatically covered under copyright protection. Now, some people do choose to register copyrights, and what that does is it basically just gives you the ability to, that will help you more in a lawsuit situation. Most of us who are not going to be spending any money trying to sue anyone. It's just too big of a drain of resources. But that's when you would think more about actually registering a copyright. Now, Patty, she added a comment directly under yours where you asked this question, and she kindly included a link. So I don't think I included this link under the description, but I will. Let me just do that now so that I don't forget. But that, as Patty says, gives you up-to-date info on copyright protection and copyright law. So, and she basically says the same thing. You'll have to register if you wish to bring a lawsuit for infringement of a US work, like if someone steals your art and puts it on a t-shirt or a cell phone case, poster, etc. And then she also says, keep in mind that ideas and discoveries are not protected by copyright. But then she also points out your work is basically under copyright protection the moment it's created and fixed in a tangible form. So long story short, you don't need to worry about actually registering copyright. You're already protected. As soon as you publish that book, it's protected. If there was, for whatever reason, something that you really did want to protect in case of a lawsuit or something like that, then you could certainly register for copyright. But in most cases, for what we're doing here, it's really not necessary. And you can check out that link, which I will provide in the description below. All right, so the last question is from Anne-Marie. And Anne-Marie asks, is there a way that we can do a pre-launch of one of our books? And what is my take on using the advanced search when in the books tab or anytime? So I know that you can do pre-launches with books. I'm not entirely sure how to do this with a paperback. And if someone else knows in the chat, go ahead and pipe up. I think with a Kindle book, you can choose what your publication, or I think there's a way to say, is this book available now or is this a pre-order? I haven't done a Kindle book in a good couple of years, so I'm kind of really digging deep in the memory banks for that one, but I believe there's an option to tick off for that if it's a pre-order or if you're making it available now. I haven't seen that with paperback, so I'm not sure exactly how that works. So if someone else has any information, go ahead and pipe in. And then with regards to my take on the advanced search when in the books tab, so the advanced search is really useful if you need to enter multiple parameters when you're searching for books to kind of weed out any irrelevant books. So the example they actually give on the page is, if you're trying to find books written by Malcolm X, but you don't want an autobiography. So you can kind of add layers of parameters that will narrow your search down. So that's really useful. But most customers aren't going to be using the advanced search. To be honest, I didn't even know that existed until you asked the question. And then I had to look and I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So I think most customers aren't using it. And the ones that are, they're looking for very, very specific types of books. Now, On the research side, it could be very helpful if you're trying to look for, I don't know, line journals that are, I don't know, whatever other parameters you want to throw in there. So I haven't used that personally for research, but I could see how that might be a useful tool for research. So I'm not sure which side of things you were asking that question for, the customer side or the research side, but yeah, that's my take on the advanced search. Okay, so there were a couple of questions about ads, but again, I don't run ads, so I'm not the best source for that. But I have once again linked to Dave Chesson's free Amazon ads course, which is quite good. You can check that out. It's got lots of useful information there. So if you're thinking about creating ads, or if you're already running ads and need a little bit of help, then you can check out that free course. All right. I've got a little bit of time here, maybe about 10 minutes before I gotta go grab my daughter from Grandpa downstairs. Okay. All right, Nat's saying I use tangent templates to put my books together that I create in Canva. Okay, cool. That's great. I've never used them. I know that people in the group that do use them they really quite like it. So, Kim, random side note, love the space you're in. Thank you. I actually have, you should have seen the office in my old place. I swear it was like 5 feet square, and now I've actually got a little bit of space. So it's nice. All right, so Yusuf saying the latest update on tangent templates is pretty amazing. Okay. Arsene says, when publishing one book multiple times, different covers, should I publish those books under the same pen name or change for each variation of the book? I would keep those under the same pen name because it's just like you said, it's a variation of one book. So I think it would get really confusing if a customer is seeing, I mean, it also depends on like how similar those covers are. I think it depends. So I've got a few interior templates that I've used under different pen names, but the covers look completely different. And I usually change the styling of the interior as well. So I'm usually not publishing the exact same interior under multiple pen names. And the covers have to look obviously very different. If you're just doing like a slight variation on cover, definitely keep that under the same pen name. Hello, Nightflix. Okay, here, let's see. Okay, Bailey wants to know, how did you find motivation early on when sales weren't quite so high? I got to a few hundred a month, but have lost motivation, especially since sales have COVID plummeted. Thanks. This is a great question. So I totally get how it can be hard when the sales aren't coming in fast and furious in the beginning. If any of you have seen my 2017 income report, you can see those first few months. I think the first month I made like $180. And frankly, a lot of those sales were actually from paperback versions of fiction books that I had. So that wasn't even, maybe half of that was low content. And those first few months were really only a few $100 each. But what motivated me was because I already had those couple years experience with the fiction and nonfiction, I already knew what a slow build this was. Like my very first month of publishing nonfiction, I made $100. And then I think the next month, I think it was less than 200. So I was really going up very incrementally. So, but then I'd managed to get it up to about 4,000 a month over a period of time. So having that experience really helped me to keep things in perspective. I just knew that things were going to unfold slowly like that. So I knew that if I just kept going and hung in there, but I know what you mean. Like if I hadn't had that experience, I might have thought, well, this isn't really working. But the other thing that motivated me was, when I was doing my fiction and nonfiction, I was having to hire a writer. Like I was spending I think at first maybe like 200, then by the end of it, like 500 US per book. And then when I started doing the low content, creating them myself, even though it was, very slow month over month, I didn't have any expenses anymore. So all that money was mine. That was good motivation too. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's low content publishing, or if you were to start drop shipping tomorrow, or doing FBA, or even starting a new job and then looking at salary increases over the course of several years. Things always happen slowly over time, no matter what you're doing. So there's a huge misconception in these business models that you're just supposed to get in and it's easy and the money's just going to start rolling in. And it's not. It's like anything else in life. It takes time. If you were to get a new job tomorrow and you're starting at $40,000 a year, how many years would it take to get to 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, right? It happens slowly over time. It's the same with this. So that's just sort of baked into the process. And if you can accept that, then it's a lot easier to keep that motivation going and just know that time and the slow unfolding of things it's part of the process. And it's my experience that things always take longer than I think they're going to. I've said it before. I wanted to quit my job in a year and it took almost 3 years. So things just happen more slowly than you think they're going to, and more slowly than we'd like them to. But if we can accept that as being baked into the process, then that can allow us to keep going when it feels like we're not making progress. But it sounds like you're up to a few $100s a month. I mean, that's great. You've already proven that this works for you. You've already proven that you can make that progress. So, don't stop now. And with this COVID thing, we've all seen slumps in our sales, except, those people that have really strong, like activity book catalogs and things like that. They're seeing huge increases there. So this might just be an opportunity for you to broaden your offerings. So just try and look for the opportunity. And things will get back to normal. We don't know when, but they will. So we just got to hang in there. Okay. Christine, how many pen names can you have on Amazon? You can have as many pen names as you want. It's just when you get to Author Central, if you're setting up that author page, they only allow 3 per account. But you can have multiple Author Central accounts. So you can only have 1 KDP account. You can have as many pen names as you want. But if you're setting up an Author Central account, you can only have 3 under each Author Central account. I think I've got 3 Author Central accounts, or maybe just 2. I think I've got about 6 pen names right now. I think at one point I had 3 Author Central accounts, but yeah, that's how that works. Oh no, Green Hill, are you still having trouble with the move tool? I wish I could help you there. Yeah, I wish I could help you. Maybe, you know what, if you're in the group, could you do do a little video, like a screencast of what the problem is and post it in there? Because it would help if I could actually see what's going on. Because it's hard for me to give you help without actually looking at the program and seeing what's going on. Okay. Okay, so Ibrahim, I've got 2 questions for you. One, do you design all of your own stuff? So yes, I do design all of my own stuff. And what do I use to create it? I have the InDesign suite. I've been using that for, oh God, since like 2005. So 15 years, I guess. So I'm just entrenched in that suite, even though it's not the most cost effective. That's where I create all my stuff. Affinity Suite is basically everything that the Adobe Suite is, but fraction of the price. I just haven't switched because I've just been using Adobe for so long now. So I'm just I'm just in there now for good. And then the other question, do you have any virtual assistant for scaling your business? So I have had virtual assistants on and off for the past few years. I do have one right now, but that person doesn't do anything regarding publishing for me. I used to have someone that would upload all of my books to KDP, but I'm trying not to break any of their rules, and it does say in there that only the person whose account it belongs to is allowed to go in there. So I no longer have an assistant doing anything. Like, nobody else is going into my account anymore, just me. I'm just really, really trying hard to follow all the terms and conditions. So the assistant that I have right now, they're more of like admin related to the other part of my business, nothing to do with the publishing stuff. Now in Snow, do you still think it's worth publishing during this time, or better to save and draft and publish after this pandemic? It's a good question. There are books selling right now. It just depends on the niche. So I think I mentioned this last week. A friend of mine, one of her activity books is selling like 500 copies a day right now. So that's definitely a niche worth getting into. It is competitive, so you've got to have a nice angle on that, and you have to know how you plan on differentiating yourself from what's already out there. But that's where most of the sales are happening right now. People are stuck at home. A lot of people have nothing to do, so they are reading more books. They are consuming more activity books, puzzle books, coloring books. People have their kids at home, so they want to keep their kids busy while they're trying to work. So kids' workbooks, coloring books, activity books, all that stuff is really, really, really selling right now. So if you can find a way to get into that market, that would be probably your best bet. Some other niches you might want to hold off on, like I'm not publishing any guest books right now, obviously. That used to be a huge portion of my sales were guest books, but no one's going anywhere. So it just depends on what you're publishing. I would just think about like what types of books right now are conducive to being stuck at home, and then maybe hold off on some of the other things like guest books. Yeah, and then that's going on to say, I'm wondering whether it's a waste to publish many new books when they may just plummet in the rankings before they have a good chance. No, it's a good point. So yeah, like I just said, I would publish things that make sense to publish right now, and things that don't, then I probably wouldn't. I'd probably maybe hold off. So it just depends on the type of book. Bailey says, thank you so much for the response. I'm feeling reinvigorated already. Thanks for all the help. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I'm so glad to help. Okay, Sharif, sorry. Yeah, you had a question right at the beginning that just got lost. So, and you were asking, is it okay to use trademark words in your 7 box of keywords? So don't ever use any trademark words at all, whether it's in your title, your description, your author name, your keyword slots. Just don't do them. Don't use them anywhere. It doesn't explicitly say in the rules not to use trademark words in your keyword slots, but it does say not to use misleading words. And if you're using a trademark word, that is a misleading word. So you just don't want to go there. I know it's tempting, and I know that other people seem to be doing it, but don't worry about them, because they never last. Like I've reported people, not even from trademark, but just using my copyrighted stuff. So that stuff does get reported, and if it's trademarked, they can take legal action. Most likely you'll just be asked to have it taken down, but people have their account shut down by Amazon for using trademark stuff, and I've seen that quite a bit lately. So even in the keyword slots, just don't go there. All right, I'm gonna take a couple more here and then go rescue my dad from my daughter. Zaki is saying, hi, Rachel, how are you? I'm good, thank you. I published the books, but I think there's a problem with keywords. Do you think coloring book in this time is good? I just use short tail keywords is good. So coloring books, I think, are selling like hotcakes right now. But again, I think you've got to have a good angle. I think just producing generic coloring books and generic activity books, I think, aren't going to be very helpful because it is a competitive space. So I think you've got to have a theme, you've got to niche down to a theme or some sort of new angle. And I just find with the keywords, longer tail keywords always work better for me just because they're niched down further, so they have less competition. Or you can try doing a mix, but if you're just using short keywords in your slots, I think you're going to be missing out on some opportunity for additional discoverability. Try and niche down and get those longer tail keywords. That, in my experience, has worked best for me. Okay, so hi, Rachel. When publishing one coloring interior multiple times with different covers, should I publish those books under the same pen name or change? So first off, I would not recommend one coloring interior multiple times. I think if you're going to reuse interiors, it only makes sense with certain books, like a day planner, a notebook, maybe a logbook, but maybe not. Things like coloring books or activity books, those should be looked at as one-off books. That can be real. I mean, people expect when they're shopping for daily planners that they're going to be able to get a planner in multiple different versions, just, that appeal to their own personal style. But when people are buying things like coloring books or activity books, they're not expecting that. And if people are buying multiple activity books and coloring books, which people are right now, they're consuming them like crazy because their kids are going through them because they're stuck at home. It would be very frustrating to think that you're buying two different activity books and then you get them home and it's the same one with two different color covers. So same with the coloring book. I think you want to stay away from that. One coloring book, one cover. Same with activity books. And if you're going to use one interior multiple times, keep it to things like planners or notebooks or things like that, journals. Yeah, Abby's saying publishing the same coloring book interior with different covers is not a good idea. Customers will start complaining. Absolutely. Okay, let me read this question here. Okay, Yassine, I'm not quite understanding the question. Talking about publishing paperbacks. You had one in cream and then you unpublished the cream version, published the new one with white interior. Maybe try asking your question again. I'm not quite understanding the second part of it. Hungry banana. I'm laughing so hard at your name. Ingram Spark already banned the spammy same book, different cover. Hopefully Amazon will do the same soon. Yeah, I think the more we can all move toward just unique content, the better. And yeah, I think something like that's definitely coming down the pipeline. All right, Nat, thanks for joining. You're very welcome. Okay, Nan, hello, Rachel. Is there a restriction using a famous quote? For example, if the journal had some saying on the page, does it need to be referenced? So this is just such a tricky area. I mean, the legality of it is you're not really supposed to use any quotes unless they're in the public domain. Now, having said that, obviously we see millions of books all the time using quotes. that have been attributed to whoever said them, and nothing seems to happen. So I really don't want to give a solid answer on that because I'm not a intellectual property lawyer. I did do a video on that, which you can check out, all about using famous quotes. That's on my channel. You can check it out. Again, I'm not giving any hard and fast advice in that video. Well, actually I am. I think I'm saying don't do it. But you kind of have to make that decision for yourself. I buy books all the time that have, the planner I'm using right now, it's got quotes, famous quotes in it. Legally, you're not really supposed to do that, but it seems like a lot of people do. So check out that video and just take what you can from it and make your own mind up from there, I guess. Janet says, thank you so much for doing this. It's very helpful, especially for me since I'm just starting out. You are so welcome, Janet. Okay, I'm going to take one more and then I got to get out of here. Ricky asks, is bullet journal a trademark? Yes, it is. I used to have a ton of these up and I had them all under bullet journal and I took them all down. Or actually, no, I emailed and asked them to change the name. Yeah, bullet journal is trademarked. Okay, one more. That was an easy one. Okay, Harith wants to know, how's it going? Which is better these days, Kindle or paperback? I realized last week the paperback is decreased. So again, I think, I don't know for sure. I don't publish any Kindle anymore. I can only assume that people are reading a lot more because they're at home. But again, I think it depends on the type of book. So some paperbacks, sales have been hurt, whereas other niches, they've been flying off the shelves. So I think it just depends on the type of book. With Kindle, I'm not really sure. I haven't spoken to anyone publishing Kindle right now, so I'm not sure if sales are up, down, or the same or what, but it's a good question. All right, thanks, guys. I know I couldn't quite get to everyone's questions. Maybe I'll just bring in my daughter and she can sit on my lap next time and I can stay longer. But thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys joining me today. If you guys are finding these useful, I'll definitely do more of them. I know I was doing them in my Facebook page for a while there, and then I stopped because things got busy. But this has been working well because I've been having a hard time getting the time to record content for videos. So I thought I'd throw up a couple of these lives, and glad you guys have found them useful. So if you're finding them useful, I'll keep doing a few of them here and there. And the way you can ask a question, if you want to make sure that your question gets asked or answered rather, is be sure to be in my free Facebook group, which I think probably all of you are. If you're not, there's going to be a link to that in the description below. And basically, I'll just make a post, a heads up of when I'm going to be doing this next one. You can ask your question there. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. And take care and stay safe. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.